Now the next step to our maze game is to be able to move the ball around. So we're going to use the control here, sorry, not the control, the events here. And we've got this when something key is pressed. So I'm just going to click and drag that out of here. And I'm actually going to use the arrow keys to move mine around. You could use the WASD, the WASD, which is used in first-person shooter games. But I'm just going to use the arrow keys here. So what I want is I'm going to create 4 of those. When the down key is pressed, when the up key is pressed, when the right arrow is pressed, and when the left arrow is pressed. Alright, so I'm just going to change that around so it looks like my keyboard, just so visually I can see that. Now we need to know something about movement. So in our motion we've got here change X and change Y. Now if you notice in the bottom right hand corner you can actually see an X and Y coordinates here. So our Y coordinates are moving up and down. So as I move my mouse up, the Y gets bigger, and as I move the Y down, my Y gets smaller. And as I move my Y towards the middle of our screen is going to be where Y equals 0. So you can see that's about the point where Y equals 0 there. And same with our X. So as we move to the right of the screen, our X is going to get bigger. And as we move our mouse to the left of the screen, our X is going to get smaller into our negative numbers. And once again, our middle point is going to be 0. So that tells us something about how we need to move our ball around. So first of all, I need to have my ball selected here. And so for our up arrow, we want to be able to change Y. And remember, as our Y gets bigger, it's going upwards. So we want to increase Y positively here. Okay, so we don't want it to be negative, we want it to be positive. So I'm going to leave it as 10. And now when I press my key, you can see at moving. Obviously I can't move down, so I'm going to have to click and drag that down. I'm going to change it to Y equals 5 for my game, which will just make it a smaller movement here. Okay, so you'll have to adjust for your game to suit. Now when we move down, we still want to change Y, but instead of moving up, we want to actually take a value away from Y. So we want it to be the same number as we've got here, so the movement's regular. Otherwise we're going to say, oh actually I haven't changed my Y down here. So we want this to be a negative number here. So you can see now as I move down, I'm moving quite quickly, whereas when I move up it's quite small, and that's because these numbers here are different from each other. So we want it to be the same, but we want this one to be negative and this one to be positive. So just like we did that for our left and right arrow keys, we're going to change X. Now remember, moving positively is moving to the right, so we're going to change X by 5 there, and we want to change X by -5. And as we move around now, why aren't I moving? There we are. And that is our movement.